What in the world's happening with King County real estate? Well, that's looky. Here we go. Wrapping up 2025 pretty much. We got November's forecast here, November's history, December's forecast. And I would say I hate being right, but I don't. I don't hate being right. I enjoy being right. And I'm right. So there you go. Okay. If you've listened to any of these, if you've watched any of these, this is exactly what I said was going to happen. Is inventory goes down. And it's not like I've got some crystal ball into the future. Okay, like, oh, I can see something that anyone else can't. It's just people tend to believe their already predetermined assumptions rather than the facts. It's the kindest way I can put that. So what you see is at the end of the year here, the green line is the supply. The green lines are all the supply, new houses that came to market. And the blue is the demand, the ones that sold, came off the market. And you can see the last bar there is November. And inventory is way down about half, just about half of, or about 40% less than October, which is really typical. If you go across all the Novembers, you can see it's probably a little more drastic this year in terms of the decrease in the number of listings. So far less listings. And buying demand is solid, strong. I mean, it's down a little bit, but it's not down nearly proportionally the way it was. Look at the gap between the blue and the green in every other month this year. Way easier to buy than sell in any other month this year. In November, way easier to sell. Why? Because there's less competition and almost as many buyers. I mean, that is not a major drop in buyers. I mean, there's less buyers, but mostly because there's so much less inventory. So if you're looking to sell, this bullshit about waiting to the spring is madness to me. It's just insanity. There's just more competition and not appreciable. I mean, there's more buyers, but it's not proportionally anything like it is right now. So if you're looking at listing and you want to get on the market that week between Christmas and New Year's, people are home doing nothing. They are waiting. People are shopping now anyway. This is a perfectly good time to get to market. Those houses that are listed are selling. That's how that's going. If you have a house that's been listed, if you're one of those gappers, those green gappers, the space, see all that space between blue and green on the graph this year. If you're one of those homes that listed earlier this year, you will have a chance to get that sold now. You probably need to dance with the pricing because as soon as something's, 2-3 weeks old, it begins to look stale. You got to start adjusting the price right away. But you should be okay. You should be able to find a buyer because there's are buyers out there. My point is really, if you're buying, you might want to wait till inventory starts to go up if you don't like what you see. And if you're selling, if you wait till the spring, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't know why you would wait till there's more competition. You'd have to explain it to me. Okay, now if it's you're remodeling the house or you're doing something inside where you can't sell it, great, no problem. But if you're thinking I'm going to get more money in the spring, you are smoking crack. Okay. There you go. There's your forecast. Okay. There's my assessment of this is if you're buying, you might consider waiting if you don't like what you see, or find one of those gappers, one of those people that have been sitting there for a long time and really doesn't want to carry their house over the new year and needs to sell. So get a price concession. And if you're listing, don't wait. Let's get that house to market right away. Now, all that said, every house is different. Every situation is unique. Everybody needs different coaching, different suggestions. So let me know what you need, what you're dealing with, and I'll let you know what I think you need. Okay. Let's talk about it. Give me a call. Aaron Hendon at Christine & Company over at eXp Realty. Party on, Wayne. Hey, what in the world is happening with Kitsap real estate? Well. Check it out. All right. Last 2 years, supply and demand, my favorite graph, because I'm a law and order kind of guy. And supply and demand, it's not just a good idea. It's the law, people. And here's what you see. Green is the supply. Blue is the demand. Look at the last set of bars over on the right. That is November of this year. Look at that. All right. So a couple things to notice. That inventory historically goes down at the end of the year. So that was typical. And demand usually, it drops, but it doesn't drop as much as supply. In other words, if you look at the delta, the gap between the green and the blue in every other month this year, you can see there's far more listings going to the market than coming off the market. There's more supply than demand. That was sort of unusual for this year, sort of back to regular pre-pandemic kind of stuff. This is a pre-pandemic phenomenon as well, this kind of drop in supply. And if you notice, it's really close to the amount of demand. So what does that mean to you? Well, if you're selling, then you will have an easier time to sell in November, or would have in November, and probably in December as well. Look at last year's December. Actually, demand went above supply. In other words, whatever's in your mind about waiting till spring to sell is, I don't know where it comes from. I don't know why anyone would think that. There's no statistical likelihood of you getting more. In fact, you're just going to have more competition. There are more buyers, okay, but there's not proportionally more buyers. Proportionally, there's less buyers. There's so much more for them to choose from. So if you're looking to sell, you would do well to get it on the market now in this kind of environment. If you're looking to buy, you can find someone who's on the market over the summer and negotiate down, or you could just wait for more inventory to come on, because it will likely come on in the spring, right? When everyone else goes, oh, I'll sell in the spring. Okay, good luck. That's what that is. There's really no good reason for it. But all that said, every situation's unique. You may have a situation where it's better to wait till the spring. I don't know your particular situation, but if you call me, I will. So give me a call. Let's talk about what you're dealing with, what you're looking for. But in Kitsap right now, sellers have the upper hand, easier to sell than it is to buy. And you should be looking to sell sooner rather than later. If you're thinking of selling, you might as well get on the market now. There's plenty of, for each listing, there are plenty of buyers. Okay. That's what this graph means. All right. Anyway, let me know what I can do for you. Happy to help. Aaron Hendon with Christine and Company at EXP. Peace. See you next month. Hey, what in the world's happening with Pierce County real estate? Well. Let's look here. All right. You are looking at the supply and demand graph of the last 2 years. Green is the supply, new listings. Blue is the demand, number of listings that came off the market, got sold. Look at that, the last set of bars on the right. That is really cool. It makes me happy because it makes me right. That's all. I just like being right. I'm a human being and I enjoy being right. What does this mean? There were less listings than there were buyers. Less new listings came on than homes were sold. It's easier to sell than it is to buy. That's what this means. It was easier to sell in November than it was to buy in November. There are about 35% less listings than the previous month. That's typical for this time of year, for there to be less listings. Now, why is that typical? I don't know, because maybe people are busy, but they also tend to think they're going to sell in the spring. And that is dumb. Dumb. Look at how much more competition there is in the spring. And not a lot more buyers. I mean, there's some more buyers, but not a ton. This month, the buyers will go down, but the buyers go down in November and December only because the inventory goes down. If the inventory was there, we don't know what would happen. But if you look overall, the blue is much more consistent, much more level than the green. In other words, there's more and more listings coming to market. So if you're going to be selling and you're going to be selling in the spring, you could look at this graph and get yourself a little concerned. There's going to be even more competition in the spring and not a lot more buyers. We don't know what's going to happen with the economy, but right now, this looks like there are more buyers right now. Look at that. There are more people bought houses than listed houses in November. More people bought than listed. Well, I would prefer to sell into that than something like this, where there's so many more people listing than buyers. Why would you want to sit on market? So if you're selling, I would do it sooner rather than later. And if you're buying, try and find one of these people, one of these guys over here that left their house on the market too long, and make a deal that they don't want to leave it on over the new year. Go find a deal in there, or just wait until this happens in the spring. It's going to happen. It's, pretty reliable. And this year was easier than last year for buyers. So if you're selling, I'd get it to the market before it starts getting hard again. And if you're buying, you can either buy now, buy one of those leftover houses from earlier in the year and get a deal, or wait for the new stuff to come on in the spring. That's what Pierce County, that's what that graph in Pierce County is telling me. You got questions? Give me a call. Every situation is unique. So that was just a 10,000 foot overview, but every block is different. Every neighborhood, every house needs a special analysis. So let me know what I can do for you. Aaron Hendon, Christina Company at EXP. Party on, Wayne. See you next month. What in the world's happening with Snohomish County real estate? Well, let me tell you, it's the same thing that's happening all over the area. It's so rare that we have all four counties in line. But this is it. Apparently, nothing's more predictable than this, which is why I'm right about it, because I'm dumb and I can only predict the most basic, simple things. And this is it. At the end of the year, inventory is going to go down, but it's not going to go down as much as buyers go down. And that's what you see. Look at the last two bars. This is supply and demand. Green is the supply, number of new listings. Blue is demand, number of homes that came off market, went under contract. So supply, listings, demand, contracts. There were more homes under contract than there were buyers, than there were sellers. That's what the blue goes over the green. That's what that means. There were more homes that went off the market than came on. It's about 35% less homes came on the market than the previous month. And if you look at the previous Novembers down the graph, you can see that's pretty typical for there to be that many less listings. That's normal. And the buyers tend to be in this range. And if you're going to interpret this anyway, you would need to say it is easier to sell now than in the spring. There's less competition. And there's more buyers. I don't know why people think selling in the spring is a great idea. There's so much more competition in the spring. There's so many other houses for sale in the spring. And there's not that many more buyers. I mean, there are more buyers, but it's not proportionally even close to what there is now. If you're looking at selling, I would do it sooner rather than later. I would get it on the market because look, last January, huge spike in inventory. Previous January, a little bit of bump. This January, where is it here? No, here. A little bit higher. But we've been on a trend of there being more inventory. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a bump up against in January. I'd get that home to market sooner rather than later. I don't know why you would be waiting. And if you're buying, find one of these people that's put it on the market at the height of the market and didn't get it sold because they priced it wrong. And get in there and make yourself an offer, or wait till the spring when there's more homes, because predictably next year is going to be a higher inventory year than this year. That's the trend that we've been on for the last 2 or 3 years. And I don't make any big predictions about the economy because I have no faith in the government doing anything rational. I just don't. And so who knows what they're going to do. But what you can tell is right now in Snohomish County, it is easier to be a buyer. Sorry, it is easier to be a seller than it is a buyer. You can sell your home more easily now than you could any other month this year. And I know that's, what do you mean in November? But that's what these numbers indicate. All right, let me know. And look, every house is different. Every neighborhood's different. Every area is different. Everyone needs different consultation. So your circumstances may change this recommendation, but from a 10,000 foot overview, that's what I see. All right, let me know what I can do for you. Aaron Hendon with Christine Company at EXP. Party on, Wayne. Hey, what in the world's happening with Vashon Real Estate? Let's check it out. Here you're seeing the supply and demand graph the last 2 years. Green is the supply, listings that came to market. Blue is demand, homes that got sold. And looky. Unlike every other freaking month this year, really, this is a pretty normal, typical situation. November saw less listings and more buyers. That's typical in all counties around the area. That's typical for this time of year. There are less people selling. There are less people coming to market with houses and more people buying them. There's less inventory now available on Vashon than there has been any time this year. While it's still a very high number relative to the last 5 years, it's lower now, and this is predictably going to get even lower. Okay, I don't know what the buyers are going to do in December, but I can promise you that the sellers are going away. There's going to be even less sales, less homes for sale. I don't know why that is. I think it's dumb. I think people who think they're going to get more money in the spring are universally wrong. Look at the number of houses look at the competition. There's not proportionally more buyers. Proportionally, there's way more sellers in the spring. So if you're waiting the spring to sell, that's craziness. I'd get it to market as soon as I could in December and take advantage of this disparity between buyers and sellers. Get involved. Now, if you're selling, I do it sooner rather than later. This was last January. January had a big increase, but also had an increase in buyers. The January before that wasn't too bad. January before that, not too bad either. So January is not too bad. But if you wait till whatever this is, February, March, April, May, look at this with May. It's insane. There were so many people decided to sell their house in the spring, and the buyers went away. It's craziness to me that you would wait. There were less buyers in June this year than there were in November. I don't know who's telling you to wait till spring to sell, but that's bad information. That is straight up bad information. Sell it in the winter when there's less competition and more buyers. It seems, when I say it out loud, it should make sense to you. Okay. But there you go. Okay. That's what's happening here. If you're buying, I would look for one of these houses that were listed in the summer that need to sell and you can get a price reduction, or I would just wait till next spring until there's a house that strikes you. And if you're selling, I don't know why you'd wait. I'd get it to market as soon as I could. Take advantage of the disparity. But every house is different. Every area on the island is different. Everyone needs different guidance. And so your situation is, in fact, unique. Let's take a look together. Aaron Hendon with Christine & Company over at eXp Realty. Talk to you soon.